Let's start with Trump. He was in Arizona talking to supporters, made some controversial statements per usual. He said the Panama Canal.
Yes.
Shout out to my brother Panama, and shout out to all the Panamanians out there.
Absolutely.
On Eastern Parkway. But he said that we've been getting ripped off by Panama for years. And if they don't start to treat us more fairly, then we should take back the Panama Canal. No, for historical reference, the Panama Canal, one of the most important creations of the 20th century.
Yes.
Early, I think it was like 1920 when they started development. So before that, ships, cargo had to go all the way down to Argentina, like past Chile, past Argentina, right? To go to the other side of the world, right? And obviously that causes a lot of issues, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with the Panama Canal, it was a split that they built. They built the Panama Canal. Didn't happen overnight. Like they had to build a waterway through Panama to actually let ships and cargo flow, which actually connects, like, you know, the western part of the Eastern Hemisphere, like the Californias of the world and Texas and stuff like that, to the west, to the east. So billions of dollars, probably trillions of dollars over the course of time, right? As far as cargo and shipments, and it's very important, even to this day. So the historical part of it is that America played a major part in building the Panama Canal, and maintained ownership for a while. It was America had full ownership of it. Started to cause problems. In Panama, they started to have, different protests saying it was imperialism, and they wasn't happy that America owned something on their grounds, obviously, right? Yeah. So I think Jimmy Carter was the president in the late 70s, and at that time, it was a strong push against communism. So they looked at it like it was a way to kind of appease Central America and South America, and they had an agreement to have the Panamanians take over the Panama Canal. I think in 1999 it was reasserted and done. And Panama has been in control of the Panama Canal for a while now.
You're a whole historian. Hold on,
you got to give historical context sometimes.
Okay.
Tie this into real time.
Yeah,
Trump has a hotel in Panama. Panama has effectively tried to kick Trump out because they're saying that he's guilty of tax evasion. So as news broke that he was getting kicked out of the country and his hotel was, and that he's going to be under investigation of tax evasion, miraculously, he decides to randomly start to say that we need to have better trade deals with Panama Canal. And if we don't, we have all legal rights. Let's play the clip, actually. Let's play this.
Has anyone ever heard of the Panama Canal? Because we're being ripped off at the Panama Canal like we're being ripped off everywhere else. The fees being charged by Panama are ridiculous, highly unfair, especially knowing the extraordinary generosity that has been bestowed to Panama. If the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America in full, quickly, and without question. I'm not going to stand for it.
So in that clip, he's saying that we have the legal authority to take back the Panama Canal. So, okay, that's a whole history lesson, how we got up to date and all of this stuff. What's your thoughts on this?
Just because you should does not, or just because you could does not mean you should. I think we have a bunch of issues we need to fix, but what an amazing coincidence, as you illustrated, that he's going to get kicked out and all of a sudden he wants to wage war, take land as an act of war all of a sudden. Listen, if Vice President Musk hasn't said it, I don't believe it. So when Elon say we're gonna take Panama, then I'll believe it. But until then, Trump, this is not a great idea. You could have waited. The timing could have been better, but no. And I think we've made too many enemies, and we're not strong enough as a country to keep acting the way we did in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I don't think that shit is gonna fly now. But what do you think?
It reeks of imperialism. It reeks of entitlement. It reeks of, all of the things that we talk about. And, Trump, I mean, he took it a step farther by putting a post on Instagram, on his official Instagram page. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did.
With the Panama Canal with a flag in the waters. Like, it's like an artificial intelligence picture.
Yeah.
And it says the American Canal, something like that, like the American Canal. And man, it's just a real ignorant way to rule. And like I said, I don't have anything personally against Trump. I think that, a lot of stuff that he does, I agree with. But, to have personal vendettas on countries because...
What specifically, before they clipped it up? Let's not give them fodder for the holidays.
What specifically, what do I agree with?
On Trump, yes.
I mean, we said a bunch of different stuff in the past. Like
protecting the borders.
Protecting the borders, him being harder on China, him, there's different things. Like, there's certain things that I agree with. But it's just a real ignorant way to go about diplomacy. Like, you're supposed to be a diplomat before anything. The president of the United States is supposed to be a diplomat. And
we know he was never that, though. That's why I made that. I'm like, he's not in Cameron or Jim's. He ain't a Dipset, Bird Gang, none of that. Trump's a different animal, yo.
No, that's a fact. But it's just a really ignorant way to carry yourself as a world leader. And it's over a personal gripe. That's why it's nothing about us getting unfair trade deals. Because if that was the case, why didn't you say this 4 years ago when you was president? Why didn't you say this on the campaign trail? Why all of a sudden you're getting charged for tax evasion in Panama? You feel like you're being unfairly targeted personally, so you're going to take it out on the country. This is the habit that he's done over and over and over again, right? Where it's like, if people have personal attacks on him, then he uses his political power to go against his allies. That's what happens in dictatorships. Yeah, that's what happens in dictatorships. That's what a dictator does.
Yeah.
So
and on top of that, like, to not even be in office, I think it's a mistake that maybe a few presidents have made, but the first maybe 10 or 15 issues that you talk about publicly need to benefit the people first. Most Americans don't even know where Panama is, let alone give a fuck if this canal gets like, you're focusing on the wrong thing. And while America does need a change, if he does not keep focus, this is not going to end well for him.
And our policies in Central and South America has been strictly economic imperialism from the beginning. And read the book, The Economic Hitman, Confessions of the Economic Hitman. Watch the documentary on YouTube. It's all like, watch the documentary if you don't want to read the book. But it pretty much, in a nutshell, talks about mainly Africa and Central and South America, but a lot of the countries in Central and South America where the economic policy for America, this goes back since the 1950s, CIA. This is not a conspiracy. This is a fact. Economic policy is to go into countries and to corrupt the leadership and to extract natural resources for cheap and keep the leadership wealthy while the vast majority of people starve. If said president does not accept bribery, then the next option is to kill the person. And when they're dead, then the next person that's taking their shoes is going to accept the bribery because they've seen what happened. And this it's bad karma. That karma has no expiration date. No. And that's the thing that people really need to understand. Like, karma has no expiration date at all. And man, it's just like, you just go back, and it's just like, even like Saudi Arabia, they had a king years ago, and he was, they had the oil embargo, and I remember they were saying that, he told America, like, look, America said, if you don't lift this oil embargo, we're going to bomb your oil fields. And he said, well, our ancestors lived off milk and dates, so we can go back to that. And shortly later, he was shot in his face by his nephew, who surprisingly, for some reason, had just visited the U.S. the week before. Coincidence? I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Philadelphia is beautiful that time of the year.
So it's like, yo, man, it's just like America's foreign policy has just been it's been bully. It's been a bully ball. And the crazy thing about it is that most American citizens have no idea about this stuff. Right. And we're so naive, and we just have such a viewpoint of like that everything that is happening is in the benefit of America and and America's this upstanding country. But you got to be honest with yourself, and you got to do the research, and you got to understand that the exploitation that we've done all over the world. So whenever you start to talk about taking land from people, right, like that's a mindset, that's a colonizing European Western mindset, right? That after a while, people's not going for that anymore. Like you can only be a bully. A bully is only going to be a bully for so long until he gets punched in his face, and then he's not a bully anymore.
Who can punch America in the face?
China. And that's what China is doing, because China is taking a different route. China is friendly imperialism.
Yes.
They're not saying like, okay, we're taking your railroad system. They'll say, okay, we're gonna loan you $50 billion.
Let's invest into your infrastructure. Yep.
We're gonna give you terms. This is another form of economic hitman, by the way. We're going to give you terms that you're not going to end up paying.
You're never going to pay back. Yes.
You're going to default on your loan. And as a result, then we'll own it. But at least they're doing it the legal way.
Yeah.
Predatory, for sure. But at least they're not coming with guns and just saying, this is our military, we're stronger than you, and we're going to take over. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Which one is worse? The get down and lay down, or act like I'm your friend and loan you the money where I know you can't pay it back? Like the Chinese company has all the parking garages and parking meters in Chicago. Nobody better than I.
I think that's better, because you still making a conscious decision to do business with China. They're not forcing you. You know what I mean? Like, they're not forcing you.
Economic extortion is very fascinating.
But this whole shit was fucked up since the World Bank. Because they really put countries.
Jingle bell, what? What? The who?
Okay.
Harlem World Bank?
To be continued.
Hold on, my boy. Okay.
All right.